All right. Well, welcome everybody to MVP Office Hours. I'm Jared Kingston. I am a solution engineer with Seven Summits and Salesforce MVP. Help host the MVP Office Hours. I'm joined today by Dale Ziegler. Dale, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. I'm a senior business analyst also with Seven Summits, also in Kansas City, and hope everybody's having a great day so far. Glad you joined us.
That's right. Awesome. All right. And we are missing one of our fearless co-hosts, Jackie Travieso, who's in Florida. We try not to envy her. Um, as we do with all MVP office hours, we like to kick it off with just the events coming up, and certainly a lot going on within the ecosystem. We got Down Under Dreamin' coming up, and the big one of them all, Dreamforce, here in just about a month. So that's kind of scary, but also exciting. And then after that, a lot of Dream Ins are going to be kicking off in the new year. So definitely, get those on your calendar if you're close by, or if you have the ability to make those or submit talks. Great events to attend. So just some ground rules real quick. Some of this may be a recap for you veterans out there, but this is a open call, so everyone participates. We certainly have MVPs on the call, but at the end of the day, right, it's about helping each other out. And if you have an experience that may help, definitely speak up. Provide input. And all we ask is you just mute your lines so that we can easily hear the questions and answers. If you have a question, sometimes we'll have dead space and just ask for you to speak up. Otherwise, just raise your hand in the meeting and we'll get to you as soon as possible. And we like it just for you to announce yourself, right? It's helpful to hear the name of the voice. And we have the chat there, and we use that a lot to post resources, links, etc. On there, and we'll be recording those as we go, and then we post them out so people who missed can see those and use them later. And lastly, you're able to share your screen. So if it comes down to it, we need to jump in to your org and take a look. We can let you share the screen, and we'll walk through it. Next here, we just want to get a count of MVPs, which I'm just scrolling through the meeting here, taking a look. If you're an MVP, raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll just recognize your name. So we've got, quite a few on. Squire, Stewart, Carlos, Joy. Did I miss anybody?
I think you got him.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks all for being on. Lastly, real quick, if you want more information about MVP Office Hours, well, we've got you covered. So there's a site, mvpofficehours.info, powered by none other than Community Cloud, to give you all the information on this MVP Office Hours, our one in EMEA, as well as the one Carlos leads that's Portuguese. And you can find all the information on all those at mvpofficehours.info,
Hey,
along with a link to register for each one of them.
hey,
Yep.
Carlos, you want to take 2 seconds to talk about MVP Office Hours Portuguese while we have you?
Yes, thank you, Daryl. Yes, we happened in the last Thursday of the month. Portuguese is not mandatory, and we have had several other MVPs or other people that are not MVPs, but they only speak English, and they got in there. And the response is a pretty good one because people feel like even though there might be the language barrier, the problems are the same, the solutions are the same, so people feel very good in both sides. Those that don't speak English, they feel like they're included, and the ones that speak English, they feel like I make a contribution to the other side of the world.
It's awesome.
Very cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, let's get rolling.
I'd say we can, let's get Marty back on her way. So if anybody got on early, we were chatting through a question that Marty had about a client of hers trying to do some automated processes on the 18th and 3rd of the month. Marty, you want to give a quick 30-second elevator pitch for everybody else on what it is that we're trying to tackle with this one?
Sure. So as you said, on the 18th and 30th of the month, you want to run through custom object and wherever there's a missing date that it wasn't, where people didn't fill in a date because they didn't receive something from each account, we want to send them an email. So the suggestion that Dan, I think, is the one that made it, that we now have scheduled flows in winter 20, and I'm looking at it, and the choices are once, daily, or weekly. That was a good suggestion. That still might be somebody could set it up each month to run on the 18th and run on the 3rd. That might be better than nothing, but.
Might be a good start. I do know that there has been a way that, I mean, you could write a trigger, a very, very, very small trigger. I know there's a way. Scheduled flows aren't just a brand new thing. There's been a way to programmatically get those going. It obviously would require code, but if it absolutely has to be twice a month on specific days and the scheduled flow functionality doesn't offer that, you can write a teeny tiny bit of code to support that.
Okay, that was a great suggestion. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So we actually did have a couple of links here before we.
Yeah, I was gonna. So maybe you mentioned this and I missed it, but the initial use case here is it's to schedule something to happen on a specific day and have it repeat over time.
Correct. Every month on the 18th and the 3rd, let's say, they want something to run and send emails to customers who have not sent in, based on the account, who have not sent in the appropriate information. So having somebody go in once a month and schedule this is a whole lot better than sending dozens of emails manually.
And is that, so with the 18th and the 3rd, is that what corresponds to the first date and the second date fields on that custom object?
That is correct.
So basically where those fields are, where the first date is null on the 18th or the second date is null on the 3rd.
That
That's what triggers the loop. Gotcha.
So I'll throw this out there as something I actually did for someone. It's a it's basically two workflow rules. It's a custom date field on the object that you're triggering off of, and essentially you have one rule that's kind of the initial email. So that rule, what it does is it sends or schedules, depending upon when you want the action to happen. So you can either do an immediate action or you can schedule it to occur on the, say the next month on the 3rd, right? So schedule that workflow to send the email on the 3rd, but also update the date field. And where that comes into play is you can use that custom date field to schedule or to schedule your outbound emails and the action, right? So you can say, hey, time-based workflow, operate off of my custom date field. And what that allows you to do, right, is then you can control the date. So you can say on that initial workflow, set the date, after you do this, go ahead and set the date to the 18th.
Yeah.
Okay. That schedules it for the 18th. Then you have another workflow rule that basically acts as like all the subsequent ones. So as soon as it schedules it and it goes off on the 18th, then that just continually schedules it for the next run, which would be the 3rd.
Right.
And then so on and so forth. So I didn't do it on exact dates per se. Mine was a little bit more simplified and just like every 30 days, but I think you could probably do the same thing with a little bit of logic on how you set the date value.
Yep.
But it certainly takes some trial and error and some testing, but that's an option.
Great idea. Thank you very much.
Yeah. The functionality's there. It feels like the tricky part is having to be exactly the 18th and the 3rd and hitting those targets exactly.
Yeah, and there might be some flexibility, so I'll talk to them. Thank you.
Well, and
Yeah.
if I could jump in, if you just have the flow checked, if today the day today is the 3rd or the 18th, you can just have the flow run daily. You don't have to jump through any hoops. You can just trigger the flow to say, should I do something or not, and then move forward.
Oh, yeah,
Was daily an option?
yeah.
But Squire, does that only run if something happens to the record, or is it actually?
There's nothing triggering it except a schedule. And
Right.
so if that first decision is what day of the month is it 18 or 3, then yep, go do the thing. If it's 1 through 17 or yeah, if it's not the 18th or the 3rd.
Oh, I see. So you're saying as soon as like the general criteria is met, go schedule the flow to run daily, and then at that point, every day it runs, it would just have to look at
What's
if the
today's
dates,
date?
yeah, if the
Right,
days
yeah.
matched.
And you can even get more specific. You'd have, hypothetically, the reason I'm bringing it up is because we have a process in place that's currently a little bit kludgy to work with. And so we've got a metadata record that says, if the day is this day, then this is the process to run. And so then you can get really flexible in that assessment of run the flow, check the metadata, what's the date, do this thing, and then you can keep adding processes to the same flow. And right now we've got Batch Apex doing it, and we're going to try to get it into a schedule. So that's why it's kind of top of mind right now for me.
Oh, very cool.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. And Stu, thanks for sending those links in the chat as well.
Yeah, I like that, Squire. That's good.
All right, we have a question in the chat, also in the flow realm, from Brittany Benson. Brittany, can you unmute and talk us through it?
Certainly. So I'm trying to build a screen flow that creates a parent account from a child record. And I want to give the user the option to select the parent account owner. So I tried using the new release feature from Winter 20 for a lookup field, and I wasn't able to get it working off the user object to select the account owner.
Technically, owner is not a lookup.
Ah, okay.
It's kind of it's a baked in, specially protected, always user field. I mean, it conceptually is a lookup field, but it's not. Your best bet for that is going to be just update, or when you're creating the account record, just assign the owner ID to whatever the ID of whatever user was selected from your screen input. And you just...
Okay, and then they would just change it after it's made?
Not even after. It would be in that first step. It's overriding Salesforce's native behavior of who's the running user, make them the owner. If you specify who the owner is in that create step, it'll accept it.
I see. So would I have the ability to give my users like the option to choose who the owner should be if it wasn't themselves?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How would you do? Sorry.
No, that's good. This is the fun stuff. Okay, so I want more things double clickable. I don't want to have to wander over and hit another button. Okay, so what we want is what am I looking for here? I want to make the dynamic choice right for first. I know this is riveting stuff to watch live. Where's the dynamic choice now, guys and girls?
Dynamic as in?
Dynamic record choice, the ability to say, give me all my active users.
Oh yeah, well it's still in, you still pick like a pick list or a radio.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, you pick whichever one you want, and then under your choices, that's where you've got to add that that new resource of a
That's right.
record choice set. Yeah.
Okay. I want to search. Yep. Everything's a user. Let's just say give me all my users. I don't care what order they're in. I want the full name. I want that's what I actually want. Right, so I want to show the names of the options, and in the back end I want to store their ID of whoever selected, right?
That looks good.
Okay.
You want to remove that second choice value that you added.
Oh yeah, because I got click happy. Don't give me soda before this.
And then just name it.
Okay. So this is a dev org of mine. I've created a handful of other users, but here's all the users that are in. I didn't say give me only active. I didn't say only show this profile. Just said give me all the users. So that doesn't do you any good without downstream. But what you can then do is you want to create an account record. Create account. I want to create one. Text. Seriously? Don't use separate variables. I'm still getting used to the new flow builder. Anybody else still kind of
Oh yeah.
plodding their way through it?
Has anyone found like a good set of resources to get more accustomed to the new flow builder?
There's a series of videos that are pretty basic, but they walk through different steps. I'll put the link in the chat as soon as I find it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, as I have been kind of slow to adopt Flow, and I feel like Salesforce is getting to the point where it's an admin, you're running out of excuses. You need to figure this tool out.
Right.
I've also noticed, if anyone else has too, every so often I'll save something and it doesn't save. And I was talking to a Salesforce person the other day who said, yes, that seems to be true. But I think sometimes it's because it opened another tab or another window and it gets confused. I get confused one or the other.
Okay. So let's try this. So if I run it, I want to save it to, let's hope I pick an actual active ID. Just get it lazy. Okay, so we said user number 2. So now,
Flow
Oh
Math.
my goodness, I got it right the first time. It's a miracle, kids. Okay, so yeah, that's all you would do is you'd have your screen element as a record choice set against the user object, and you'd probably want to specify active users because you can't, unless you have other backend settings that you can't assign, you wouldn't want to assign to an inactive user. But you could put a filter there, and then you would leverage, so user capture 2 was the variable that came out of the actual radio button. Does that make sense?
Oh yes, this is exactly what I needed. Thank you. I didn't
Yeah.
understand the lookup limitation and you explained it perfectly.
Well, there you go. And we'll have this recorded on YouTube if you need to go back and watch again. So there you go. Thanks, Stu. I will go back. This never happens in a live demo by a lottery ticket. I absolutely will.
Quite impressive.
We'll just we'll put thank you, Marty, for sending the YouTube video, and we will we're not going to watch an 8.5 minute video live, but we will share the link in the deck afterwards.
And there's so much goodness that was added with 20 or this winter 20 release. That yeah, it's like yeah, it's awesome.
And then there's the unofficial Salesforce. Good stuff. Who is up next?
Sophia, you got your hand raised.
Hey, yes. So right now, my company and we are working on enabling Lightning Knowledge for the first time. And we are going to expose it in a Lightning community. And so we've gotten, all the data category groups and data categories set up. I've kind of assigned those data categories to oh goodness, I'm trying to think. Not tags that are in the community. Yeah, I think they're called tags. But now what I am running into is our ideal state is we'd really like it where our partner users, their experiences when they go into this knowledge community, they have like drop downs. So like the data categories, which are kind of set up as, those tags, they're able to kind of have like a drop down experience, but we haven't been able to figure that out. And it seems like it might be a custom component, but I don't know if anybody here would have any ideas or if that hopefully makes sense.
Do you have anything already started that you could show us that we could start with?
Yes, let me pull this up. Okay, so
yeah. Keep on. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll be on you.
All right, can you see?
All right, you do the same here.
Yep.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, great. Okay, so let me try to find another one. I actually had a couple of communities that we were playing around with. Mm-hmm. Okay. So here, sorry, when I said tags, I meant topics. So, product type and components are kind of, two of our main like data categories that we have set up as topics, and here are all the subtopics. And essentially where we are is we have, I don't know, maybe a couple thousand articles, and they're going to have one of these associated and then one of these components associated as a topic to it. And what we're trying to get to is where one of our partner users would be able to kind of have like two like drop down filters, one for product type, one for component, and they could select off-road and then select the component option, and then it would bring up all of the articles that match those two criteria.
Yep. Look here. Yeah, the only things I've seen there are custom component solutions. So, like I know, Dale and I work for 7 Summits. We have one that we've built. I know that like what is it? Advanced Communities has one on the App Exchange that's somewhat similar that allows you to do the same thing. It's all around giving you that access to filter that down on the page in a component, because there's nothing else that's standard to do that.
Right. Okay, so you're saying there's actually, so Advanced Communities is something on App Exchange that might provide a solution?
Yeah, it's paid.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's where I've seen like I said, like we've done it. We've built something similar for our customers. I know Advanced Communities has it, and there's probably others that have them as well. But yeah, it just has to be a custom component right now because there's just not anything for that. I was trying to see if had been anything added recently, but I don't see any, at least in my first search on the App Exchange.
Okay. Well, and that's what we were thinking it was coming down to. We were just trying to really confirm or see if there'd been anything else, but okay. So, and I'm going through and looking for Advanced Communities at least. That'll be maybe a potential option.
Yeah, I would just search I search community knowledge articles.
Yeah, see, that was the other thing too, is when I was I was trying to go through like different communities or just Google search or trailheads and stuff like that, and I really wasn't seeing a lot of other people who were running into this same question, or maybe I'm not using the right search terms, but yeah, it was always like I couldn't find anything much on that capability.
Yeah, I'm pasting this link in. If you're not using Lightning Knowledge, there's a free one there that works with Classic Knowledge, and then the other, it looks like they have another one for Lightning Knowledge that's paid.
Okay, well, yeah, no, that's that's great. I think that kind of helps, get us an answer and look at a couple of resources. So,
yep.
Yeah, if you could share those, I'll look into those. I really appreciate it.
Yep, for sure. Right. Who else has a question?
Anybody have any favorite Winter 20 goodies coming up? Stu's hand is raised.
What you got for us, Stu?
Well, I don't have an answer to. Dale always does that to me. He asks a question right before I raise my hand. I don't have an answer to that question that you just asked, Dale. Sorry. But I do have a question. I'm wondering if anyone in the group is going to an event next month called Dreamforce. I've been asked to put together a set of slides for my customer to prepare them for Dreamforce. They're sending some of their employees to San Francisco for the event, and they want to make sure that they're not all going to be going to the same thing. And I sort of advise them, I don't think that they will be. There's 2,700 different things to do while you're there. So I'm hoping that you're not all going to attend the same thing. But while I'm preparing these slides, I'm just wondering if the group has any advice on things that I must include in my slides that I'm preparing for them while they're getting ready together to put together their agenda. And since I didn't see any of their hands raised, I thought, well, I'll just ask this to this group.
Joy has a good tip. Focus on 2 to 3 must-see sessions a day. Don't cram your schedule with end-to-end all the things. You'll be exhausted. I would throw in to support that. Don't tell your customers. Don't plan on getting coffee. Don't plan on finding caffeine. Find healthy snacks and water that'll keep you recharged, because caffeine is just a futile effort. Prepare them for that.
True story.
Stretch yourself and pick at least one session out of your comfort zone. That's a really good one, Joy. I mean, Stu, you're engaged with them, so you know what their headspace is of things right now, and I mean, you know enough about the platform that you could probably take some of your individuals maybe one degree just a little bit further. I think they might appreciate that.
Yeah, I would know kind of the direction that they're heading with the platform and say, you're doing this, and maybe next year you should be doing that. And so maybe I could send them to a keynote that would offer them something they're not doing today that would stretch their mind a little bit, and say, think about it. You don't have to plug this in tomorrow, but you just need to know what other companies are doing.
Right. Oh, flu shot. That's another good one.
Flu shot. Oh.
I got my flu shot last month. That's always a must do.
I might recommend to them that they get the flu shot before they go.
Joy's throwing out all the really good ideas.
Joy, you are.
Rains and shoes. So I just not that 2 years are going to be the same, but I just want to point out this year it's the week before Thanksgiving. The last time it was the week before Thanksgiving was 2013, when it was a downpour all bleeping week and everybody came home sick. November in San Francisco is typically not awesome weather.
Okay.
Headphones, yes. Get into your own space. Thank you, Jen.
Yep. Definitely +1 to Squires of like bringing a full backpack. Like if you have an iPad or just even a notebook, like if you can avoid bringing your laptop, like lugging it around, you definitely be better off for it. And a good battery pack to charge your phone is definitely worthwhile.
Well, especially also because you figure there's going to be 170,000 people all trying to hammer the same cell network, the same Wi-Fi, the same everything. Your battery is going to die at a much more exponential rate than it would day to day. Everybody's competing for space. Everybody's using the app. Everybody's looking for everything.
And I might put in a slide in there about for those of your colleagues that aren't going to San Francisco, they also can experience the keynotes and some sessions even when they're at their desks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, no, those are great. Thank you very much.
Stuart, this is Squire. I have a really quick question that counts for us every year, and I'm wondering how you're handling it. There's this kind of like management, just generically, management always feels like, yeah, everybody's split up and we'll all bring it back and share, but that never happens. It's too hard to regurgitate that, take 5 days worth of sessions and turn it into 20 days versus worth of sharing. I'm always pushing for you should go to the things that you feel are valuable, even if we're doubled or tripled up, with the intent that that's why it's valuable to be there. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that what the management at one of my clients wants to do is do that split up, and then come back with tell us what you heard. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather have people come back with what are some things that delighted you that you think that we could look at, that we could research in the next 6 to 9 months. Because anything that I see at Dreamforce is a research point. It's really not something that I'm going to say, yeah, we're going to deploy that right away.
Right.
It's always going to be something where I'm going to write those words down in my little notepad, and then when we get home, I'm going to research more about it, and then we can talk about it as a team. Would this be feasible? Would this be something that's valuable to the users? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Joy's always one step ahead of me on this one. What's your mix of attendees from this client, because she threw out get engaged with the presenters directly? Is it admins? Is it developers? Is it marketing? Is it more C-level?
For me, it's a mix of all. It's architects, it's admins, it's devs.
So like for your admins, tell them go search Steve Molis and you'll have a full week.
Oh, wow.
Things like that.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. But, based on who those people are, figure out, the names in the community, point them to names, get them engaged, give them a Twitter handle and tell them, or you can go do it, research the agenda builder for the sessions that those people are giving, and then say, these are the people that will help you directly.
Yeah. And that is one thing I've done in the past as well. So in the past, I've come up with, worked with my boss and come up with 2 or 3 questions, usually not more than 3, because I can't handle more than 3. 2 or 3 questions of things that I'm challenged with or my organization is challenged with. And make the questions concise and reasonable and transparent so that they're not so vague and disruptive. But then I would go to figure out who I'm going to ask, or at least think about who I'm going to ask, and try and target those people and say, I'm challenged with this issue. And sometimes there's Salesforce sets up these question and answer booths where they have people that will answer your questions, architects that are there to answer, and say, I'm having this scenario. How would you deal with it if you were in my shoes? And if I can get the answers to those 2 or 3, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but at least we have a really good conversation about them. And that I've found to be helpful in years past.
So I think what you need to do is when we post this recording, just get your computer to like auto transcribe it and then pretty it up and your deck is done.
There you go. Perfect. Cool.
Joy threw another one there. If any of your people do get engaged with any of the presenters or anything, encourage them to pre-engage before the event.
Thank you, Squire. I appreciate your comment there about thanking people. I sometimes I forget to thank people, but thank you. The thank yous that I have gotten from volunteering are the best things ever. I agree.
I'll extend that to even like the security staff and the people that are just working there. Like,
Amen. Yeah.
for those of you who have never been to Dreamforce, do we have anybody who's going for the first time this year? Raise your hand or speak up and say yes. Even if you haven't thought of it, like the people who are checking to make sure that your badges are flipped forward and everything, we unfortunately live in a world where it just takes one person being in a place they're not supposed to be to ruin it for everybody. So those security people, they may be super diligent about show me your badge, are you who you say you are, all that kind of stuff. They're there to protect us, so thank them too. Everybody is there doing their job. And then Joy sent over a list that Silverline, Liz Halenga from Silverline published about making the most out of your Dreamforce experience. And again, all of these links that we've popped open we'll put in the deck and share later this afternoon or this weekend so you can get back to them.
Hey, Dale.
Yes, sir.
Carlos.
No, Jason Momoa.
Yeah. You keep to remind me that I have a dual personality here. I don't know if people were able to see what I just posted in there, and I think it's very important. If you are MVP or group leader, take the time when people approach you, because a lot of people know you from Twitter, for LinkedIn, for the Trailblazer community. You might not know them. You might have them on your LinkedIn, but you don't know them. And it means a lot, because a lot of people, they might not come from US, they might come from another country. So if they come to you and they say, hey, this is my name, we connect on LinkedIn, be gracious with them, be a smile, give a hug, or take a picture, let them ask a couple of things, because they are the ones that put us, especially for the MVPs, they are the ones that voted for us to be in there. So it's only fair to give a moment back to them.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely spot on.
Thank you, everybody. I'll open the floor to another question.
Who else has a question?
I just a query, maybe someone read the same article I did. Is the cutover to the new mobile app going to be a one and done cutover on the roadmap somewhere? Like, will you be able to use both apps for the foreseeable future? I feel like I read something that there was a hard cutover coming, but I can't find it now.
So I got an email this morning that says Salesforce mobile web experience, retirement date 6/01/2020.
Retirement or just stopping support?
It says retirement. Retirement name, upcoming retirements that impact your Salesforce org, and it shows Salesforce mobile web experience 6/1/2020. But and there is a link to the article. Can I give you the link to the article? I sure can.
Wire sent us one too.
Probably the same one. Yep, that's the same one. But the article really doesn't say exactly what that means.
I think we had this one floating around with a client too. So mobile web experience is more, I think it's tying more towards trying to use a web browser on a mobile app. Yeah, we looked at this one internally because I remember making fun of the weird marginalization here.
The pictures are odd. Okay. Yeah, it's unclear to me because it says that we encourage you to download the update from the Google Play or the App Store to ensure you have the most recent Salesforce experience. Well, that seems pretty easy.
The reason I bring it up is because it seems like unlikely that Salesforce would continue to support both versions of the app. And when it came up in our user group yesterday, there seemed to be a combination of like panic and like disbelief that they would cut over. And I'm just trying to figure out where I read that original article. It wasn't this one, but thank you, Stuart. Just like, where that is on the roadmap so we can plan for it. So
I'm wondering if this is for organizations who don't allow, for whatever reason, would not allow their reps to update their iOS apps over the next year. Like, would there be some control over, like, I own your phone?
Absolutely.
As a corporate org, and so I'm not going to allow you to update the app on your phone until I, for some whatever security policy or whatever, I have deemed it reliable. And so if I'm a user, I might panic.
I mean, that is a thing. I think it's very blurred in a lot of organizations. Who owns the device versus who owns the data on the device versus who controls the device and the data on the device. I mean, that right there. I know I had that in a former life that I got a stipend for using my personal phone, but the company managed some of my settings through an email app, ironically named Good because it was a terrible experience. But because you're putting company data on a personal device, not on a company device, they do get some say-so in that. Technically, like I've seen this with colleagues in consulting as well, that when we have access to many orgs, the two-factor authentication, the first instinct is to put your cell phone number on it. Well, when that person gets let go and you have to go change their settings, they're getting pings on their personal device. That's their personal device. It wasn't the company device. So technically, really think hard about using your cell number as a 2FA versus an email. But that's not what we were here to talk about. Yeah, it is a little kludgy with.
It looks like right above the picture, it does summarize what's being retired as what you described as the mobile the mobile experience on the
Yes.
portable device. So good call out though. I didn't read that far into that email, Stuart, so thanks for that.
All right, we have a question here in the chat. Let's see. Thinking of enabling contacts to multiple accounts.
Step one, go through a massive data cleansing exercise. Yeah. Are you able to unmute first, Lizelle? I see you're unmuted, but I don't hear you. Okay. So definitely think about duplication rules. Think about what your point of uniqueness per contact is. Like the most common to use is dedupe on email address. No two contact records can have the same email address, going back to that who owns the data? Well, that account company owns the email address, so that if a person goes from company A to company B, that person can have multiple contact records, but the email address is what separates their affiliation. Contacts to multiple accounts does not create multiple contacts. It's still leveraging a single contact and then a junction object that allows it to be related to many accounts. So that is something that gets confused a lot, is that contacts to multiple accounts creates many contacts. It doesn't. It's one contact record and then associations to multiple accounts underneath that. Squire brings up a really good point. Test everything, reporting, activity roll-ups, security, all of that good stuff. I'll put your link up here in 2 seconds. But because you're going to be creating a significantly larger amount of data, go clean your initial set of data. Clean up your contacts based on some clearly defined set of rules that says this is the record of, or this is our point of singularity and uniqueness per contact. And I would say definitely avoid using name as a point of duplication, because obviously you get married, you can change your last name. Bob Jones is the same person as Robert Jones, potentially. Bob and Robert aren't going to get caught. You may also have multiple people in the same company whose names are Bob Jones. I've seen that situation before. Definitely dive into this post. Standard address, yes, if you can standardize the address if you're using location in any way, shape, or form. Look for ways to make sure that street and ST are one and the same, West and W. And lean on us as you're going through those exercises, because we've all had to do them before. We've seen a thing or two, so we're more than happy to give tips along the way. Salesforce accelerators for duplicate rule enablement. Squire, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I know it has a lot to do with your level of support and how you get access to them, but if you happen to have Premier support, you should have a pretty good pool of accelerators. In short, it is a Salesforce guided sequence of meetings and discovery, and depending on what you sign up for, even implementation guidelines or demos, but they really take you from the very start with a series of stakeholders, and in this case, say, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your guidelines and your governance around data? How are the rules going to affect that? And it kind of just really work you through it, but from a Salesforce solution engineer or an accelerator team member will kind of guide the team through it. And so you really get the opportunity to let Salesforce and their experience help you get it implemented. There's a lot of them out there, and your AE should be able to help you with it right away if you've got one. We've used them for mobile, for duplicate, for it seems like I think we use all of our tokens every year, because they just, even if we kind of think we know what we're talking about, it can be really helpful to have someone from the outside looking in help answer the questions. So.
Cool. Thank you, Squire. So we got one more question. I think we could probably run through here really quickly. Brittany, unable to get the standard create new case button to show up on a case record page, recently broke out my cases into 2 record types. I have a theory on the second part of that question, but create new case button on a case record page. Can you give a little bit more color on the use case for that, please?
Oh, certainly. Yep. So I have a QA person who may be working a case and may need to make an additional case associated kind of like with the same person, because they may have an issue on another order that they placed.
So is it creating a child case to the parent case, or is it just creating another case for that contact?
Another case for the contact.
So are you in Lightning or Classic?
Lightning.
Okay. Do you want to, here, I'll stop sharing my screen if you can share super quick.
Cool.
My theory on the second part of that question is, when you went through the exercise of creating a new record type, did you make sure that all necessary profiles had the record type loaded or enabled? Because if you don't have record types aligned with profiles, you can't create new or change to that record type. But that might not be the culprit.
Oh, I see. Okay, that might be what I did wrong then. How do I fix that?
Well, so I'd say first things first, can you show us the case layout first, just so we can see what we're working with, and then we'll get you over to profiles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're on a case. Okay. So let's start with your profile, just to make absolutely sure. Go to the profile in question.
Okay.
And then go to object settings. And then, okay, so cases. Okay, so you have the record types assigned, so that shouldn't be a problem. You have read and create selected. So then, yeah, let's go back to the, go to the object manager and let's look at your Lightning record pages. Or actually, yeah, case page layouts, let's do that.
Yeah, so I put the new case button here, but then it just doesn't show up.
So isn't this the situation in Lightning where the new case button is tied to the master record type? As soon as you create new record types, you have to create new actions, like you do with activities?
Well, I did notice that the master record type was deselected.
Yeah. I don't remember if that's a requirement, but I know we've had the issue with our activity timelines that we have multiple record types, and so the standard button doesn't know how to handle the master.
Yeah, correct.
A new action.
That's correct. Yeah, you've got to go to the actions on the object itself.
Mm.
And in this case, like, yeah, so if you edit that, actually, so yeah, that's where Squire's saying the standard action no longer works here. In this case.
Okay.
So, if you have, it looks like you had like a new child case action.
Yeah, hit cancel.
But yeah, like you have your custom action there, like, for example, so if you edit that action, you'll notice, see at the top there, record type. So now you have to designate a specific record type for that. So you'd have to have a button per record type.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
And then it'll show. Yeah, it is kind of weird. It will stick to the master until you change it.
All right. Well, that puts us over and done. Thank you, everybody. That was awesome. That was a lot of really, really good stuff. If anybody sees when Agenda Builder opens up, go on Twitter, go on the Success community, alert the masses, get everybody going on that. In between now and the next call in 2 weeks, this group in the Success, or formerly known as the Success community, is always up and running, so feel free to post any questions there. Agenda Builder is live for Dreamforce now. Well, all right, there you go. Anyway, between now and then, you can always post your questions in this group. And then when the YouTube recording is available, we will post the link to the recording here, as well as we'll take all these links, we'll plop them in this deck, and we'll post a copy of the deck with the links in here as well. So just be looking out for that notification. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome weekend, and next call's in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thanks all. Thanks, Dale.
Mm-hmm.